Hi everyone, Keith here. Hey, I wanted to go over a few things with you real quick in regards to trying to help everybody out with some information on how to comprehend it. I've told you here in the last couple of videos about definitions and being another man's opinion, and I want to expand upon that. I'll probably do a lot of expanding on this opinion thing, give you my own opinions of these words, redefining them. And basically, one of the ones that we're all interested in it's here lately, a large majority of us, I guess, straw man. I tried to look it up in Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, and I'll be damned if it's not listed. But right there where it should be, it says straw bale. And it says, see bale. So I went to bale and I looked under bale, and it shows straw bale. And it says nominal or worthless bale. Irresponsible persons or men of no property who make a practice of going bail for anyone who will pay them a fee therefor, and who originally, as a mark of their purpose, wore straw in their shoes. What we're talking about here is back in history of man, there was a time when if somebody got charged with a crime, say the figurehead of the household got charged with a crime, and he's the guy that brings the bread in the household, and the household would fall and die if he was not allowed to work. And therefore, if they put him in jail, his family would fall apart. Well, the course of action in a situation like that was to preserve the family. You could send somebody else to jail for you. And that was the straw bale. So generally, it worked out between father and son. They would just, if they had a son that was old enough, they would just send the son to jail, or vice versa. If the son was too young to go to jail, the father might go to jail. Well, in other instances, there were people that really didn't have a son or a father, and there were other people that didn't have any money and were homeless and didn't have any food. Okay, give me three cots or three hots and a cot, and a little bit of money, and I'll do your time for you. That was straw bale. So you understand that. That was what straw bale means. So, fear not, though. Straw man is listed in Black's Law Dictionary, and you find it under its Latin term, Straminius homo. Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, page 1590, shows us Straminius homo, spelled Stramineus, and then homo, Homo. And under that it says Latin, and it's real short and simple. It says a man of straw, one of no substance, put forward as bail or surety. Plain and simple. Of no substance. He doesn't have a job, doesn't have money, doesn't have family, and so we'll put him forward as bail or surety. You can keep him if I fail my obligations. And there are people that are willing to put themselves in that position and do so. Okay, so then we try to look up Straminius homo in Oxford's American Dictionary, and it is not listed. However, on page 419, it shows us homo, and it says the genus of primates, including man. And here, before we go any further, I want to help define this to help people understand this bullshit about race problems. It's bullshit. Bullshit. You want to sit there and call people racist, you're probably a racist yourself. Because understand, this is kind of like sovereign citizen. There's no such fucking thing. And what I mean by that is that the genus of primates, including man, the genus is primates, the race is man. The genus is primate, the race is man. Now, just like there are all kinds of primates with all kinds of different hairdos and styles and sizes and shapes, and within each of those primate categories, each of those different individual primates have different hairstyles and body styles and shapes and sizes. So does mankind. That's the only difference. We're just like everything else. So anyway, get beyond this race bullshit. You want to be a racist? Be a mankind racist. Come together as mankind. Then we go on to New Webster's Dictionary, page 325, and it does list Straminius, and it has also a very short definition, describing it as consisting of or like straw. Consisting of or like straw. Then when we look up homo, it says not listed. So then we go to Webster's New Encyclopedia of Dictionaries. That's that big thick one I've got. And Straminius, again, is not listed, but on page 179, it says homo, a combining form, the same, having a same center. And that center for the race of mankind is that we're all man. We're not purple men, black men, yellow men, white men, red men, blue men, green men, orange men. We're all man. Before we get to any kind of color, this is like I try to explain to addicts. I'm not an addict. I'm a man who has an addiction. I'm a man who has many addictions. And even those that aren't substances can still be mind-altering. I see shit all the time that I'm addicted to, and oh my God, it alters my brain. Just got to think about how people are defining it and understand they're just other people's opinions. So anyway, then we're going to go on to the next word I want to talk about. And that's when we talk about straw man, we talk about this fictitious entity, this corporation. So we look up in Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, page 626, entity. And it says a real being, existence. That's it. Simple and plain. And it says Department of Banking versus Hedges, where that's how they define it. That's where they got their definition. That's where they got their opinion. Under Oxford's American Dictionary, page 287, entity says something that exists as a separate thing. Okay? There's that word exist. New Webster's Dictionary, page 110, under entity, and you'll notice these are all very short definitions describing this word. Entity says being, essence, and here we go again, existence. Webster's New Encyclopedia Dictionary, page 128, again, this is that big one. Entity is described as a real being, reality, existence, a material substance. And so if I want to help define that for people, let's make it real nice and simple. An entity is pretty much a noun. Anything, place, or person. Any person, place, or thing is a noun. It is also an entity. What is not an entity are the words that you put down on, say, a piece of paper. The piece of paper is an entity. Then you put the words on the piece of paper. It's still an entity with words on it. The words themselves are not the entity. The piece of paper is. So, we're the entity. And that piece of paper, that certificate of live birth, is an entity. But they exist separately. I have standing because I can get on my own 2 feet and stand. If you leave this piece of paper all by itself, it lays flat on its face or on its back. It is dependent on mankind to do something with it in order to have an effect. Okay, so when we talk about this entity, this fictitious entity, we look on page 721 of Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition. First, we're going to look at the word false. And it has a lot more on here than what I'm going to tell you. But the first 2 words on it say not true. Then it goes on to describe it as deceitfully, or deceitful or intentionally deceitful or whatever. Letting you know that something that's false isn't not just the context of not true, but it has an intent. It has an intent. And that's why I say I'm not going to read it all, but you get on there and look this up and read it, and you'll see all the different ways it describes false. as being intentionally deceitful as well. And then on that page 751, we look up the word fictitious. Fictitious is something, again, that is in here. It even uses the word to describe it as false. And I think even if you look under the word false, it might use the word fictitious. But anyway, this is another one. Twice they start out using founded on a fiction and having the character of a fiction. You can't understand what fictitious is if you don't know yet the word fiction, which is the pretext of the word fictitious. So bad usage of word there for describing this one in this definition. Fictitious, however, then they go on, says pretended, counterfeit, feigned, imaginary, not real. And here it uses the word false, not genuine, non-existent, non-existent. Entity, a real being, existence. Entity, something that exists as a separate thing. Entity, being, essence, existence. Entity, a real being, reality, existence, a material substance. Fictitious, non-existent. So, we look at this straw man, and here under fictitious it tells us, and we can connect the two arbitrarily with our own conceptual reality. It says arbitrarily invented and set up to accomplish an ulterior motive, or ulterior object. That's your straw man. That's your certificate of live birth. And it is fictitious. It is imaginary. It is not real. It is false. Go ahead. Send that that certificate of live birth and have it authenticated. Sounds ignorant to me, and that's just my opinion. Privilege is the next word I want to look at. On page 1359 of Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, says privilege, a particular and peculiar benefit or advantage enjoyed by a person, company, or class beyond the common advantages of other citizens. An exceptional or extraordinary power or exemption, a right, power, franchise, or immunity held by a person or class against or beyond the course of law. And you'll notice this one doesn't have any case law on it. And basically what we're looking at here is, and you'll notice this is the way it's described in Black's Law Dictionary. I'll go ahead and look it up in these other ones here. But as far as Black's Law Dictionary is concerned, they're putting themselves under this privilege thing because of this last part says a right, power, franchise, immunity held by a person or class against or beyond the course of law. In other words, this is what they're using to say they're above and beyond the law. These lawyers, judges, they have a privilege. Driving is a privilege. So it puts you above and beyond the law. Well, if that's the case, then why do you get pulled over and get driving tickets? So we look under privilege in this Oxford American Dictionary on page 712. And it says privilege, a special right or advantage granted to one person or group. To grant a privilege to. To grant a privilege to. In New Webster's Expanded Dictionary, we look under privilege. And on page 265, it says privilege is a separate and personal advantage, prerogative, immunity, or exemption, to grant some right or exemption to, or to authorize. Then when we look up in the big book, under privilege, And on page 292, we see privilege, and it says a special right or advantage, to grant some special favor to, enjoying a special right or immunity, private law. Private law. Huh. I never expected that. We'll have to look that one up too. I'll make one on that one. Private law. Privilege. So anyway, we find out that they're trying to use the word right with privilege in some of those things. And that's not right. A privilege is something that you take upon that the privilege, driving is a privilege, yeah. You took upon the privilege to drive on the public roadways for commercial reasons, and therefore you're conducting commerce on the public roadways, and you have to pay a taxation for the upkeep and maintenance, for your usage, your extra usage, for your heavy vehicles. Whereas a traveler has a right to travel upon the land. Though it may be covered by pavement now, it was the land, and is still land. Anyway, privilege is just a privilege. Has nothing to do with rights, except that you give up your right in order to gain a privilege, in order to be granted a privilege. But that still doesn't put you beyond or against the course of law. Period. No matter how much you believe it, that's somebody else's opinion. And if you want to let them use that, then you go ahead. But we're going to look up other words, or that same word in other dictionaries, and see what it means. Like I said, we're going to look up private law as far as privilege is concerned. Anyway, hope you guys understand this. Straw man has no rights. Period. You have all the rights, and that is because you are an entity. Straw man is a fictitious entity. It's just a piece of paper with a bunch of words on it that are somebody else's opinion. Love you. God bless you. Have a good day, folks. That's all I got.